Alright, so in this video, we're gonna dive deep. We're gonna take you to the dark side, the serious dark side of Juby and I both. You guys don't know or have not seen much of us prior to when we started YouTube, but back in the day we had some big issues. For you, babes?
Yeah, I went through multiple phases of eating disorders as well as struggled with alcohol.
Yeah, and for me, I had a huge issue with alcohol. I went way hard on binge drinking, not to mention that I just did not really care about what I consumed. Think Bojangles, Wendy's, Taco Bell. And so through this video, we want to take the chance to kind of take you back to when we started, where we had all of these, and we were struggling with all these issues with not just eating disorders and alcoholism, but self-doubt, lack of self-love, lack of confidence, not having the mental clarity to be able to go after our dreams, and then show you how we incorporated this Laugh, Love, Thrive cooking approach into our lives so that we can become the people we've become today.
So if you missed the last 4 videos where we really dive into this Laugh, Love, Thrive cooking approach, then be sure to go check those out because there's a lot of really awesome, good, and juicy information that you will be able to use in your day-to-day lives to make your mentality a little bit brighter each day.
My approach to food and eating was really just thoughtless and meaningless. In my sort of high school, college era, I had a high metabolism and I was relatively healthy. So I was able to eat tons of pizza and fast food and all this stuff and not really feel the effects. Therefore, I didn't really put too much time and energy and thought into what I was eating. When I think back to that time, one of the things I realized is how my clouded mentality really did keep me from achieving a lot of the goals that I would have loved to achieve when I was that age. During high school and college was this time when I started partying on the weekends and started binge drinking. That took a huge toll on my body. Not to mention it just sort of escalated the unhealthy eating, because we all know you have a hangover, what's your first inclination is to go out and eat more bad food. And so this vicious cycle continued and got worse and worse. And it wasn't until I met Juby and we moved in together in Baltimore until I started to have this seed of an idea that was planted about an alternative eating lifestyle and healthier lifestyle, considering and appreciating the food that you put inside your body. I slowly, because of her, started to transition and experiment and test out different foods for me to eat, whether it was more salads or more plant-based or just generally better sourced ingredients. All of these things I began to experiment with to figure out what my body liked and what worked for me, and over time began to develop a diet and a routine that worked for me and my body. What you put in, you get out. Not only was I feeling better, getting better sleep, but also the goals that I was looking to accomplish, which was, get a better job, get higher pay, be able to focus more at home and appreciate Juby more, to appreciate my friends and family more, to be able to have the drive to pursue some of my hobbies that I had always wanted to try out, like rock climbing. Those started to come to fruition, and when I recognized that that was happening because of these changes in my diet, that was a huge eye-opener, and it opened a lot of doors for me. If you fast forward to today, not only am I consistent in what I'm eating and what I'm putting in my body, but it allows me the bandwidth and the clarity to be able to appreciate those people around me, love myself for who I am, and also take care of my body and just really go for those big, wild, and crazy dreams and goals and accomplishments I've always wanted to accomplish. Dream bigger, think bigger, and just treat myself with the respect that I deserve and others with the respect they deserve. That's a little bit about my story and how step by step I recognize that changing your life can start in the kitchen, and applying this LLT cooking approach that we've designed for you guys and taught you guys about can really lead you through the process that Juby and I went through, where we took small changes in the kitchen to change our diet that led to huge transformations for us as people and the way that we view and pursue the world around us. And I'm looking forward to it bringing to you guys as many good things as it has for us.
So my food story It didn't start out so ugly. I grew up in a family eating a lot of different cultural foods. I was always blessed to have so many different types of foods in my diet. I was never a vegetarian growing up and never really struggled with that until much later when I decided to sort of like begin to find a healthier avenue of eating. It wasn't until my college days when I really started to face this demon within me, where I discovered the power of having a poor relationship with food and what that can really do to your mindset, your body, and just your community. In college, I was a big drinker. I would drink an entire jumbo bottle of wine to myself in one evening. I would drink an entire handle of rum in the course of a 3-day weekend. I would combat that by drinking and blending those alcoholic beverages with like juice and stuff to make myself feel like I was getting more nutrition within my consumption of alcohol. I had a really great community of people, or so I thought, until I got mono. When I got mono, I started to really lose weight, and I had always sort of dreamed and aspired to have a toned, lean body, and like the ideal physique in my mind was never obtained, and I finally was losing so much weight with mono that I was seeing results and getting closer to the body that I had always desired. I was realizing what it would take to have the type of body that I wanted and how little I needed to eat in order to be looking a certain way. Obviously, I lost a bunch of weight, and in turn I realized that I didn't really have a community of people that cared too much about me, because my community of people was my alcohol community, the people that I went out with in the evenings and drank a lot with. With mono, I wasn't really inspired to eat or drink anything. So I lost my way and found myself completely alone and didn't really know who I was anymore, or what I was doing, or if I wanted to even continue getting my degree where I was at. So I transferred to Paris, and things kind of progressively got worse. I would drink and drink and drink still, and I didn't even feed my body after those big binging evenings of alcohol. I just would, purify myself with water and an apple the next day and call it a day. But then I found myself overeating on certain days where I would consume like an entire box of cookies, eat huge amounts of food, and I would feel so much guilt and anger at myself that I would then not eat anything the next day, stopping to allow myself to have all the wholesome nutrients that I needed. After realizing this vicious push-pull of overeating and undereating, things just kind of escalated, and I ended up losing all control that I had of withholding food from my body and ended up overeating. And I remember walking from college to the gym, and on the way I would eat like loads of pain au chocolat and be like, in my mind, it's fine, I'm gonna burn all of that off at the gym. And I'd go so hard at the gym where I'd feel ill. I would go home on the way after the gym and eat more, and I would feel clouded in my mind, and then the next day I would eat nothing. At one point I even was drinking aloe vera with the hopes that the natural laxative elements of aloe vera would really flush my system and help me maintain that weight that I had. It became pretty messy. So I ended up moving to Hawaii, and things just escalated even further from there, to the point where I no longer was concerned about undereating, but had no control and willpower over my own self to be able to manage what I was eating. It's just such a crazy feeling whenever you binge eat that you just like literally cannot stop, and you are begging yourself inside to just stop eating, but you for some reason find yourself stuffing more food in your face. One time I was in the parking lot eating fried chicken out of a bucket in the dark in my car, reading a trashy magazine, and then went home and proceeded to eat more food, to the point where I felt physically unwell and then actually could not move. Like my stomach was so full that I became incapacitated. It was just such a horrible feeling. It never gave me clarity or ambition or drive to succeed in anything in my life. It just put a hold on everything and forced me to be sad, and was just such a horrible time of my life that I'm so grateful to no longer be in. But when I moved back from Hawaii, it was one of the things that I really knew I needed to conquer and figure out how to move past, because it had been about a couple of years now where I didn't have a period. I was so thin. I wasn't feeling well. My skin was pale. My fingers would get cold, and I was beginning to have symptoms of someone who really did struggle with an eating disorder for a long period of time. I had hoped that things would get better with a change of environment, but things honestly got worse, and I began binge eating much more, and my weight went from being low to much higher. And I had already at this time experimented and explored being a raw vegan, being able to consume large quantities of food, ways that I could eat lots and not feel guilt, the desire to eat and the lack of control, but restricting myself to only the fruits and vegetables. So the raw veganism was definitely a starting point in my life to exploring more consuming plant-based. Whenever I started working at this vegan restaurant, I began to sort of become more level-headed because I started to really enjoy the food that I was eating and feeling fulfilled by eating a more regular amount of food. I also started to have a better understanding of how to cook those types of meals, and so taking time in the kitchen to try making different types of mock tuna salads and cheesy pastas and things like that. When I moved back to the States, I started to exercise more, and it really became something that allowed me to embrace my day-to-day life and want to eat the foods that would make me feel better. When I started to eat more of the plant-based diet and enjoy cooking and not so much grabbing the food on the go and being alone and focusing on the things that were making me feel sad and focusing on the weight loss and this desired body that I crave, I was able to really just put my energy into good food, feeling the love for myself, appreciating my body, and not wanting to put myself through any type of pain from eating. I didn't want to hate food. I wanted to love food. I wanted to enjoy the process of eating and not dread it. And all these things took a lot of time to find peace with. And I would still say, even to this day, I struggle on some days with healthy eating and having a wholesome diet and overeating or undereating. But I have definitely found a good balance between the two, and I think it really does all come down to this Laugh, Love, Thrive cooking approach. It's been a huge part of how I've been able to move past having an eating disorder and how I've been able to better my relationship with food and in turn my body and the people around me. I don't struggle with alcohol anymore. I can enjoy 1 or 2 drinks and be satisfied, and I don't need more than the quantity that my body can handle. I can have a better appreciation for a dish, and it's not about the quantity and affecting and altering my mindset from the food in a negative light, but more so in a positive light. So being able to consume wholesome ingredients that make me feel better, my mindset is in an amazing place these days, and I'm able to accomplish dreams. I'm motivated, and I'm able to really just like be the person that I've always dreamed to be. It's not about this ultimate body that I want. It's about just loving myself for who I am, the way I am, and being appreciative for everything that my body has allowed me to do in this life. And I think I've just come to a place where I am more so grateful for the opportunity to be able to nourish my body as opposed to push myself into a really, really dark place. Yeah, I could go on and on and on about how gloomy those days were, but I'm just grateful that I have found an appreciation and passion for enjoying good food and allowing myself cheat days, obviously, but being consistent and primarily eating plant-based ingredients and wholesome foods and things that I know make my body run really well.
These are some case studies that come directly from us and how we approached big issues in our lives. We took our Laugh, Love, Thrive cooking approach, applied it to those issues, and were able to come out the other end as people who've grown and bettered themselves, full of self-love, full of confidence, and full of the mindset to be able to achieve our dreams today. We're super excited. Our Tiny Home Big Flava cookbook is going to be launching in just a few days. It's got over 55 awesome plant-based recipes that are delicious and will help get you on track and practicing our Laugh, Love, Thrive cooking approach.
So since you have all been so incredibly patient for this cookbook to finally be available, we wanted to put together a special offer so that you would have something more than just the cookbook to take home. Part of the special offer includes a couple of live elements where you'll be able to connect with us on a private Facebook group. And we wanted to be able to keep our engagement with you super intimate so that we could really give you as much value as possible through helping you understand what our Laugh, Love, and Thrive cooking approach means. And if you had questions about it or about the cookbook or about recipes or anything like that, we wanted to really be able to be here for you and foster a community of like-minded people who are hoping to really have a good mindset when it comes to food and living their best life. So if you are wanting to jump on that special offer, be sure to scope it out because it is going to be available for only 1 week. Make sure you grab it while it's available.
You guys have been patient enough with us to go through all of these videos, and for that, we thank you. We've been getting tons of questions about this cookbook, and we've been trying to answer them one-on-one, but we're just going to take some of the key questions we've been getting. We're going to take time on the camera to answer those questions for you guys, and we're also going to show you how you can get signed up for a copy of the cookbook and your special offer full of tons of sick bonus materials.
And we look forward to seeing you guys next time, and we hope that you have a wonderful evening. And big love to you from us.
Juby is a wonderful closer outer. She means
babe.
we love you.
You know what we mean. We just hope that you have a wonderful next few days, and we look forward to checking in with you guys on the next video.